Hey, the recording is started. My name is Harry Ricker, and today is April 27th. Welcome to the Cosmology Group discussion meeting. And today, Vladimir is going to continue his discussion that he started last time. So I'm going to turn it over to Vladimir, and we'll continue to discuss the world universe cosmology.
Harry, just before
Good morning,
starting, if
everybody.
I may, I received an email from Dennis Allen, um, just suggesting that you probably saw the chat that he had with AI that we briefly discussed yesterday, about GPS and all that. He said you might want to look at that today if there's time. If so, I could forward the email to you with all the information, but it's completely up to whether we have time or not.
All right, that's a good idea. Um, in that regard, I'm not really sure how much interest there is. I see that we only have 4 people today.
It was before too, for people only have an interest in this cosmology.
Yes. I'm sort of I'm not really sure that there doesn't seem to be a lot of people that want to initiate topics for discussion. So I'm not really sure what how to continue on. But anyway,
You probably know that both Denny and Cornelis gave their apologies that they're not available on Sundays, but
yes,
they'd like to participate otherwise.
that's pretty much what everybody says. But I don't know how you're going. I don't know how to. Um, it's been suggested to Saturday afternoon. That's not really that great for me. Um, uh, I don't know. So um, I guess I'll just leave it at that. So if you'd like to go ahead, Vladimir.
So I'm ready to go. But what is important? There are no teams. People, maybe they suppose that we want to talk about our own models. No. The very good point is Roger, he's doing great job. Yesterday, Ian gave a very good speech. We should do with some analysis of the last papers, the history of some issues, and so on and so on. Please, let's change our theme that, oh, we will talk about only Jim's and my, theory. That's it. No. We should educate ourselves. We should follow all the last, publications, last ideas, history of classical physics, and so on and so on. That's why, people maybe they don't understand what you're asking them for. Because they can find good video, they have find some good article, and then we can talk about this article and then discuss it. Please, we should
Well,
change the.
I've thought about that, and I did send out videos to discuss, and people said, well, I didn't bother to look at the video. So how can you talk about a video or if people don't look at it? There's a number of videos now on the internet that I was interested in sending out for people to look at. They're really now honing in on the idea that the Big Bang Lambda CDM model is in trouble because of the observations that galaxies existed long before they're supposed to be formed according to the existing model. And of course, we already knew that. I've talked about that before, but
Yes.
there's more. They're sort of now homing in on that they haven't really been able to refute the evidence. In other words, I guess they're in the stage now where they're not really able to ignore the evidence or make it go away. So it looks like the Big Bang Lambda CDM model is, according to what I see on the internet, they're claiming that it's tottering, and Scientists are
Doesn't
having a
the
hard
same
time explaining away the observations.
does the same evidence question the Vlad's model also, that there was a beginning?
Well, now you're into the is there a beginning question. There's a number of
Vlad's model.
there's a
That
number of
is
people that
Vlad's
talk
model.
about that. They have there's a new theory about that apparently some people have recently proposed where they're trying to escape this difficulty of was there a beginning, and so the latest I've talked about this before, which is the conformal cosmology, that where the universe is cyclic. It just goes through different cyclic phases, and so they're trying to hone in on the idea that the universe is cyclic. It didn't really have a big bang, and that was the beginning of it. The big bang is just the start of a new cycle of the universe. And so,
doesn't the same evidence contradict Vlad's model about a beginning?
well, actually, to be honest with you, I think the evidence supports Vladimir's model more than it refutes it.
Well, how can there be all of these galaxies way back at the beginning?
Well, that's their problem. That's their theory. Now, their theory is
No, I'm talking about the beginning that Vlad defines. I'm not talking about the Big Bang. I'm talking about Big Bang brother, which is Vlad's model.
okay.
Yes,
Well, I
yes,
will have
yes.
to let
Thank you.
Vladimir answer to that one, I suppose. Maybe he'll talk about that today.
It seems like the evidence contradicts Vlad's model as much as it does the Big Bang model.
Not exactly,
both claim a beginning.
Not exactly, because what the problem with the lambda CDM model is that they claim that the universe started out with this big bang that created hydrogen and helium and no heavy elements. And the problem is the heavy elements, because according to the lambda CDM model, the universe has to evolve over time to create the heavy elements. So the heavy elements, things like oxygen, gold, iron, those elements have to be cooked in the interiors of stars. And then they have to be recooked in the interiors of stars. So you have to go through multiple cycles or multiple generations of star formation in order to get a mature, fully formed galaxy. And the problem is that they're finding these galaxies have heavy element abundances in the very high Z redshift galaxies, which doesn't allow sufficient time for them to be created. These elements shouldn't exist in these early, quote, galaxies. Now,
doesn't the same problem exist for the beginning model of Vlad?
Well, we'll have to ask him about
a few words about the beginning. I gave to you guys, to all of you, additional 440 million years. That's why during these about 500 million years, you can create whatever you want. And when so-named Big Bang will happen, you have already additional 500 million years of evolution of our world. This is simple like this. That's why without this time, extra time, you cannot do anything in any model, in any model. Then second very important point, the difference between our standard model and my model. There are only two options. All the matter exists from the very beginning, at the beginning, or in my case, there is no all the matter. On the contrary, there is the beginning with no matter at all. No matter, there is some bubble 40 bubble, that's it. And then it's growing up for 500 million years before it will show up with the so-named Big Bang model. That's why, guys, it's totally different story. Don't
But
even
a half
compare
billion
this.
years is enough to create a galaxy?
Sorry?
Half billion years is enough to create many galaxies?
Yeah, if you will follow my model, because it's a totally different story. You know, in their model, first of all, you have your stars, then you have your galaxies, then superclusters. You need extra time even to arrange all these, superclusters. In my case, vice versa, everything is going from superclusters. When they're shooting with these galaxies, dark matter, so-named dark matter galaxy centers, then you can grow up your galaxy stars from the beginning. No, you have already centers of them, something inside of them developed during this 500 million years. And then each galaxy will develop by itself.
So a half
The
billion
other
years
galaxy.
is enough time.
Yes, 500 million times it's enough, even in existent, models.
Okay.
They don't have this because right now there are galaxies with 280 million years after the Big Bang. There is not enough. I told 280 plus 440, it will be 720 million years. Not so bad, by the way.
Vladimir, isn't the world universe cosmology, it suggests right around similar time as the Big Bang occurred? I mean, how to possibly pinpoint such a precise time over countless millions of years ago? I mean, just looking at the world and universe now.
You know what? There is no serious talk about the age of the Big Bang model. How they took this, based on what? Nobody knows.
Well,
In my model,
isn't your
age of
model
the
around the
world.
same age?
No, let me tell you. Yes, let me tell you. In case age of the world, I calculated based on gravitational parameter measurements. There is no any even question about why this age 4.22 14.22 billion years. Why? It's based on our measured parameters,
What is your
gravitational
predicted
parameters.
age of the universe?
I'm sorry,
What is your predicted age of the universe?
I told you 14.226 billion years.
That's just
14.
slightly older than the Big Bang Theory
As I
prediction.
told you,
That's just slightly
440
older.
million years more. 440 millions plus.
Well, how did you arrive at that, though?
I told you, I calculated based on gravitational parameter only, measured on Mother Earth.
Well, you didn't witness the actual beginning, though. I mean, how to possibly know?
You know what? Let's guys continue with my previous talk because we can continue it, but we will never finish. Unfortunately, guys, let me tell you about your curiosity, not you personally, but all this other stuff. I sent this article to 18 people. Maybe a couple, 3 people, they watched they read my paper, nobody else. The last one summary I sent to all of you, and I don't see anybody who read it. Guys, you have no interest, not only in our
I did
Zoom
take a
meeting.
look at it. I did read it, but I didn't,
Okay, one, Harry, I'm
didn't give
sorry
any
with you, but
comments.
you're the only one.
I would have actually preferred that you talk about that today because I actually like the summary in that I think it is a bit more succinct and it defines the basic fundamental ideas. It gives you what the fundamental ideas are and talks about them in a very kind of summary way. So I think that's very useful and um, uh, I would really, you're honing down on really what I think the issues are, which are to really define what you're talking about. What are the concepts that you're using in your model? And that's what really needs to be clarified. That's what we should be talking about. But instead of talking about what the concepts mean or signify physically, people basically want to, say that these concepts are wrong. Before we even understand what the concepts are, people want to say they're wrong.
Usually, this is the way. Let me tell you, Harry, you're right. And what is important, I switched already the title of my presentation for ER in 2 weeks. Please have your patience. I will give this talk 2 weeks on Saturdays on ER's, meeting, and I will talk about the summary at this meeting. That's why I want to finish our previous talk with fourth dimension and be exactly what we will start now. And in 2 weeks, I will give the whole talk about summary because I tried to do my best, taking all the questions, all the results, all what we talked before with you. That's why I put everything of myself into the summary. But please have a patience because I want Ian to follow this summary and to talk to me at this meeting. And I invite all of you to come to this meeting.
All right. So why don't we continue on here and see if we can finish up.
You see, the most important points, we passed the last one, 2 hours. Right now, let's continue with some experimental results, observations, and all this stuff. It seems to me, it will be much easier for us to understand what I'm talking about. Let me share the screen. Share. Send a request.
I might comment that while Vlad is sharing his screen, that in a way, as far as I can see, almost at least the majority of the people he's addressing here in this forum are not in the beginning, let there be light advocates, so that perhaps Vlad would have more success if he addressed people who believe this in the beginning theory. Our group of theories, apparently. We have Vlad's theory, and then there's the Big Bang theory. So if Vlad were to direct some of his effort toward trying to reach the Big Bang people, they would probably be they might be a more receptive audience, because he has a disadvantage, I think, with the present audience, which I think the majority, if not almost everybody here, are not in the beginning people. They think the universe is sort of it's best to consider it as without beginning and without end.
The extent and the age of the universe is unknowable with our current technology.
Yeah, so
there's no way.
Vlad is addressing the wrong group of people here.
I'm sorry, guys. Let me inform you. First of all, you will never convince anybody from Big Bang model that they are wrong. Forget it. Because they have their paycheck, they have their grants, they have everything in their life. They cannot cut themselves.
But at least you have in common that you share.
One second. I didn't finish.
In the beginning model.
Well, let me tell you. I sent the summary, the last my paper, to most of the people I know about. I have a lot of emails to people, independent, neutral, and so on and so on. You know how many people they read already summary? 422 people already read, and nobody of them from Big Bang models. Forget it. It's impossible. With your model, with my model, with any different model, forget. There is no way to go through this wall of this, Big Bang model orthodoxies. Forget about them. That's why, guys, there is some interest to my model. There are hundreds of people. They are neutral. They can accept something, very good, comments on my model. Like gave today the very good comments. But please, let's wait for 2 weeks. And next 2 weeks, I will talk about summary and I will answer all your questions based on this summary. But there is an interest, but no response of great physicists, great cosmologists. Forget it. No way. And I'm trying already for 12 years to spread my model. I didn't succeed. I mean, with these famous guys. Forget about them. They will never accept anybody, including you, Jimmy, with your model too, because it's interesting model, as I told you. If you're talking about the quantum objects, I like it very much. But I don't like when you're spreading it to classical model, because as you know, classical physics is based on ensembles of particles, ensembles. Let me continue right now our talk, because I am scared that we will not finish my paper, the previous one, even today. Let's restart. Jim, you agree? Okay, did you request, okay, I share. Ah, okay, I found. Okay, good.
We got about 10 minutes, I think.
Okay, let's start at least.
No, 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes. Oh, 20 minutes is plenty. It's good. I mean, size. And let's go to section 3. It's exactly the meaning of this. Oh, why four spatial dimension observable world? I will try to explain you, and you will ask me the question, why fourth dimension? And this is point by point. WC introduced a concept of the hypersphere world to address the absence of the center of expansion in 3D universe associated with initial singularity. In frames of WC, the center of expansion resides in the center of the 4D nucleus. Is it clear? I mean this statement. Let's continue. The expansion of the nucleus causes the stretching of its surface, which constitutes the hypersphere world. There is no need for dark energy. You see, in Big Bang model, dark energy, there is no need. Creation of matter is a direct consequence of the nucleus expansion in the fourth spatial dimension associated with the total energy of observable world. Creation of UC particles occurs homogeneously in all points of the hypersphere world. It's very important to have additional extra matter homogeneously in the whole world. How you can provide it with the without fourth dimension? We live in a 3D dimension world. If you have a border, you can penetrate this border, but you can saturate only at the border area, only your matter. But I need this matter in our galaxy too. I need to do new stars in my galaxy. I mean, in our Milky Way galaxy. That's why there is only one way to have this 3D observable world, what we have, and to saturate all of them homogeneously from the fourth dimension. Next, overdoing
So
and Western.
all points of the hypersphere world are on the surface of the hypersphere?
No, sphere is a surface of the four-dimensional nucleus of the world. It's a hypersphere. It's surface of the four-dimensional ball. Surface. It's not, sphere in the sphere. No. On the contrary, observable world, what we have with you, it's a three-dimensional. It's inside of this hypersphere. But hypersphere itself, it's surface of the 4D ball. Let's go with point 4. Overdoing and Basson postulated that metrics which depend on fourth dimension x4 give back equations of state for fluids composed of massive particles. WC supplies this fluid, so-named fluid, I named it cosmic medium, which consists of massive particles. They have rest energy. With rest energy, protons, electrons, photons, neutrinos, and UC particles. You see, in Big Bang model, you don't have fourth spatial dimension. You don't have it. You can have only massless neutrinos, massless photons, and all this stuff. There is no way for Big Bang model to have particles inside of the cosmic medium or fluid, whatever, how you name it, doesn't matter. But what does matter, you must have fourth dimension according to the well-developed theory. It's not my theory. It was proposed of Wesson, and then together with Oviduit, they developed this theory. Very good one, very professional. I'm not professional theorist. That's why I forget about myself in theory. I use developed theory, but I absolutely agree with the most important conclusion, statement. If you don't have fourth dimension, you'll have no particles. They have no mass. Even electrons, protons, they don't exist. They don't exist in the existing Big Bang model. Can you believe it? Let's continue.
What is the reference for that?
In my paper, forget it right now because it will take too much time. You can go to my papers and you will find all these references. Man, please read my papers. According to WUC, all parameters of observable world depending on dimensionless time varying quantity Q, which is the ratio of radius R of this 40 ball to a basic size unit A, which I calculated based on my model, my theory, are a manifestation of the world's curvature in the fourth spatial dimension. You see what I mean? By the way, it's according to Mach's principle that our local physics must depend on some huge parameters R. Why? Because it should depend on the overall world. All world is including everything what we have around must influence on our local physics. It's exactly what's going on in my model. I have this parameter Q. It's a so-named Dirac number. But what is important, existence of all the parameters, and I will show you later which one parameters depend on my metric Q. They are crying about, guys, we have the world with radius R. It's a very big one. Our local physics depends on this parameter R. I'm trying to do, in advance, some talk about later. Okay, leveraging the interconnectivity of primary cosmological parameters, by the way, it's my discovery, revealed by WC, we demonstrate that the gravitational parameter G experimental, which can be measured directly, enables the determination of all other cosmological parameters that are not directly measurable. Using G experimental, we calculate the radius of the curvature R as follows. From G experimental, I can calculate Q experimental, and then I can calculate R equal A multiply on this calculated Q experiment. And this is exactly the radius of curvature of this hypersphere, let me name it such words. And you can see it's about 10 to the power 26 meters, that equals to 14.227 billion light years. You asked me about the age, how I calculated. Simple, from G experimental, Q experimental, and then multiply this parameter, basic unit, on Q experimental, that's it. No physics, no entropy, nothing, no physical phenomenon responsible for this absolute age of the world. It's absolute. It doesn't depend on anything. If we passed already, why for the fourth dimension? Why we have to have this? This is my point, session number 3. Let's continue with parameters, measurable parameters. They can be measured by our astronomers. By the way, we have a great results of our astronomers, especially with GWST. Please pay attention to all these new discoveries every day. I cannot follow all these discoveries because I cannot publish my papers so often as we have right now. That's why my proposal with you guys, let's talk about these new discoveries without papers, only take somebody's papers, talk about them, and then discuss what is going on and what does it mean. Okay, let's continue. Energy density of observable world. It's a very important issue because vacuum, there is no vacuum. There is a cosmic medium, and you will see how it goes from my model. In WC, observable world is the Hubble bubble with the radius r equals c multiplied tau, where c is the gravitodynamic constant that is identical to the electrodynamic constant c in Maxwell equation, and tau is the cosmological time. And an energy density of a spherical surface sigma 0, that is the temperature invariant surface enthalpy. Sigma 0 equals HC over AQ. H is the Planck constant, and A, I talked about, it's a basic size unit. Where H is the Planck constant, with Nikola Tesla's principle at heart, by the way, I will talk about this, sigma 0 at the very end of our today talks. Tesla principle at heart, there is no energy in matter other than that received from the environment. We calculated an energy of observable world. You see, more than 100 years ago, Nikola Tesla told, guys, there is no energy in matter without environment. And environment is the fourth spatial dimension. There is no nucleus of the world. It's our environment. We are sphere. We're only surface of this ball, nucleus of the world. You see, it's a standard hour equation. Observable world energy equals 4 pi r squared sigma 0. And an average energy density of observable world is equal, simple like this, surface of our 3D ball divided on the volume. And it's 3 rho 0, whereas that is inversely proportional to r. You can see it. An energy density unit rho 0 equals to this equation, RC over A4. The dimensionless time varying quantity Q equals, can you see Q experimental, how it depends on our experimentally measured gravitational parameter. There are standard fundamental constants in this equation, and you can calculate this Q expansion based on experimentally measured the gravitational parameter. And immediately you have the number 10 to the power of 14. It was guessed. It was some kind of evaluation, estimation of this number by Dirac in 1937, 87 years ago. He talked about this 10 to the power of 40 large number, and there is a calculated this number based on a gravitational parameter only. Where G experimental is a value of experimentally measured gravitational parameter, this one, and there is in the reference 9, you can see it. I took it from experimental, these parameters, and then I calculated this Q experimental. The quantity Q, that is a measure of the size R and age of observable world, is in fact the Dirac large number. T0 is the basic time unit, A over C. It's about 10 to the minus 23 seconds. Q equals R over A and age of the world over T0. WC is based on two parameters only. Dimensionless Rydberg constant alpha. Can you see? One parameter that is named the fine structure constant now, and R infinity is the Rydberg constant measured in 1888, guys, long time ago, before the not only Big Bang, before the quantum mechanics. That is okay. And time varying quantity Q. We stress that the best theory is the one which is based on the minimum number of dimensionless parameters. You see, I have only two parameters. Alpha, we must use it because all the parameters, all the physical notions in conjunction with universe must be constant. And on the other side, our evolving world must be described by parameter Q because it depends on cosmology. And minimum, you cannot do any model without two parameters. One of them standard, another one time variable. Very important parameter.
Do you have alpha on both sides of the equation there?
Which one you mean? There is no equation. There is a
It
calculation
says
of
alpha
alpha.
equals the cubic root of 2 times alpha Rydberg constant.
And that's it.
It looks
It's
like alpha
exactly
is on both
calculated
sides of the
number.
equation.
Huh?
That's A, is it? Not alpha on the right-hand side.
It's A. It's alpha. And this is a basic size unit. Calculated by myself based on classical physics only, based on Rydberg constant and all this stuff. You can take a look on my paper, Tribute to
Okay.
Classical Physics, and you can find all these calculations.
The two look almost the same. You ought to make one boldface or something.
Unfortunately, this is my journal. I published already 14 papers in here, and all the same, I have the same problem. You know, in text you will see this A, this italic A. It will be standard A. I tried to fight against them. It didn't help me. That's why, please, it's an excuse for my journal. Why because I published my papers only this journal of high energy physics, gravitation, and cosmology. Only they accepted my model. And I'm so happy with them. At least one journal can publish my papers. By the way, there are good professors, the chairman of this, journal, very respectful Big Bang model guy. By the way, he published so many papers with gravitation, with cosmology, with everything, standard one. Nevertheless, he accepted my dissident model, and I'm so happy with him that he is a flexible guy. He has his own face and he has his journal, and he published not only my dissident papers, but some other the dissident papers too.
All right, Vladimir,
Okay.
we're coming up. We're kind of running out of time here. We got 2 minutes.
Okay,
I think
if you
we'll
have
wait
some
till the
questions,
next section, critical
yes,
energy
let's stop
density.
next section, next to 20 minutes, but then we will continue because all these numbers will be based on experiments, how I calculated, who calculated, and so on and so on. That's why hopefully it is our standard three-dimensional physics, classical physics, and there is only one change, time-varying parameters. Time-varying gravitational parameter, time-varying Hubble parameter, and all this stuff. This is the advantage of my model. You don't need new classical physics. No, say the same equations, stay with the same physics, with the same theories. You must take into account only time-varying parameters of your classical physics. That's it. You see advantage. They try to redevelop new physics, new forces, new something. I hate it. You don't need to borrow your great classical physics. Only use this idea of Dirac in 1937. There are time varying parameters, and I used it in my model. That's it. And he done evaluation.
All right.
I done a calculation.
By what you mean, what your criticism is by new parameters, you're saying things like dark matter and dark energy, and now they've come up with a new thing, dark something or other. I can't remember what it is. Dark.
Oh yeah,
Everything is dark this, dark that, dark fields, dark energy, dark matter. These are all this is what you're saying that you object to. You don't think this is legitimate.
Yeah, of course you're right. I object.
Right.
What is important? They even invented, what? Inflation, warm inflation, weak inflation. There is no. Let me finish the last point. I'm very impressed. There is so well-known, famous Professor Fries. She invented a new mechanism how to create dark matter, because in Big Bang model there are dark matter 27%. Where they came from? Nobody telling now. And she proposed a new mechanism. Can you understand even the sequence of words? Weak inflation, weak, warm, whatever, not so explosion, something weak. I don't know what does it mean. I don't understand inflation at all.
All
But
right.
weak inflation, it's even more complicated for me.
Let me ask a question here. What was the name of the person that you mentioned? Right, some woman. It sounded like.
Professor Freeze. You can find it, in
I
my
can't.
summary.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. What was the name?
Freeze. Freese. Freeze. Professor, I will send you this if you have this,
Okay.
interest. I will send you this reference later after
I'm
this
not.
meeting.
I'm not familiar with this. The most recent thing I heard about dark matter was that dark matter existed before the Big Bang, and so that's where it comes from.
Let's forget about it
That
because
sounds like
all
a.
this
That
bullshit
sounds
I
like an
don't
ad
even to
hoc.
talk about.
That sounds pretty
Suddenly,
ad hoc.
where it came from, nobody knows. Dark energy, nobody knows what it is, And in my model, forget about that model in their way. Forget about dark energy at all, That's why, guys,
All
please
right.
follow my model. Let's continue because one of the most important parameters, critical energy density, calculated by general relativity. Forget it. There is no any meaning for general relativity. Even critical energy density can be calculated. I will show based on some paper. It doesn't matter. I will show how to do it. It's simple like this. And the meaning of it, nobody discussed, but I'm discussing the meaning of this critical energy density. The principal idea of WC is that the energy density of observable world equals to a critical energy density, which can be found by considering a sphere of radius Rm and enclosed mass m that can be calculated by multiplication of critical mass density by the volume of the sphere. When observable world has the critical density, the Hubble velocity, according to this equation, h over Rm, h is the Hubble parameter, equals to the escape velocity. This is the escape velocity in here. And this is the calculation, 2gm over Rm, and so on and so on. It's a very simple calculation, which gives the equation for rho critical, 3h squared c squared over 8 pi g. You see, standard critical energy density calculated based on general relativity, you can calculate based on Hubble equation. H multiply on radius of this object of our world and equal to escape velocity. They don't want to influence by, it's okay. I will stop talking about it, which gives an equation for rho critical as it is in general relativity. But I've done it without general relativity. This equation can be rewritten. Nobody done before myself, but I've done it. This is the first parameter, so named gravitomagnetic parameter. Well known in gravitomagnetism, well known. But what is important, it is multiplied on 2/3 of rho critical, not of the overall critical, 2/3. And 2/3 is the energy density of cosmic medium. You can see this mu g is a gravitomagnetic parameter, and 2/3 of rho critical is an energy density of cosmic medium. What is important? It's a very important equation. Let me show that E and parameter G and parameter H, they're inversely proportional to R, radius of curvature. It's a worst question. The second very important point, G and H depends on 2/3 of rho critical. They depend only on cosmic medium energy density. All our physical laws of our classical physics depends on the cosmic medium only. It's a critical, very important conclusion. Why? Because cosmic medium is homogeneous, isotropic, and it's a very good standard reference system, Jim, for you. We have cosmic medium and we have a very good reference system for all our other calculations. That's why it is Critical energy density, yes, calculated by general relativity, but nobody done this physical explanation of this critical energy density. What does it mean? It means that our critical parameters G and H depends inversely proportional to R, and the very important point, depends on a cosmic medium only. There is no problem with inhomogeneity and, not is isotropy for macro objects. Who cares about macro objects if 2/3 of our energy density inside of the cosmic medium? And all the equation depends on cosmic medium only. Well, let's continue. Considering that H inversely proportional R, it is easy to see that gravitational parameter G proportional R minus 1. We emphasize that the values of the main cosmological parameters G and H depend on the value of energy density of medium, which is the characteristic of cosmic medium. That is a homogeneous and isotropic. The critical energy density of observable in the present epoch equals to, and I calculated even, rho critical equals to 3 rho 0, multiplied on the same calculated experimentally Q parameter, and it is 4.98 giga-electron volt per cubic meter. Why I put giga-electron volts? Because we have particles and rest energy calculated in mega-electron volt, giga-electron volt. That's why for particles, it's better to calculate energy density in these units, giga-electron volts. Okay. Cosmic medium composed of particles. You see, particles, they have some masses, rest energies in my case, but particles. That's why, Jim, you asked me the question, do I believe in particles? Yes, cosmic medium saturated with particles, and I will give all of them, all the system of these particles. Intergalactic plasma parameters consisting of protons with mass mp and electrons with mass me can be found by investigation by fast radio bursts. Many times I told about it, which are millisecond duration radio signals originating from distant galaxies. These signals are dispersed according to precise physical law, and this dispersion is a key observable quantity that is in tandem with a redshift measurement can be used for physical investigations. The dispersion measure and redshift conducted by Kiana, it's a reference 11, you can take a look in this paper, provide the measurement of the cosmic density of ionized baryons. They named it ionized baryons in the intergalactic medium that equals 4.9 plus minus 1.3%. With this accuracy, they calculated this number, how many protons they have in cosmic medium, which is in excellent agreement with the predicted by WUC value. Concentration of protons is 4.8%. Compare 4.9 plus minus 1.3 with 4.8% that I calculated in 2013. And this is what measured in 2016, 3 years later. I calculated it before they have got this experimental parameter. Minimum energy of photons. You see, massless photons, they have no energy. They don't exist even. On the contrary, if there is an intergalactic plasma, then there is the lowest plasma frequency. You cannot penetrate plasma with any particles that have less energy that will allow this particle to go through this intergalactic plasma. You see, the most important parameter, intergalactic plasma, there is no intergalactic plasma in Big Bang model because it doesn't exist. It's pollution, pollution. But what is important? Fast radio bursts proved it. And what is important? They calculated based on a standard classical physics equations. No bullshitting. Everything is correct. I mean, from observation point of view. But if you have your intergalactic plasma, that photons, they cannot penetrate this radio waves. It's a huge, you will see the frequency of this, minimum for lowest plasma frequency, it's about 4.5 Hz. But whatever you have less than this number, it cannot penetrate. It will be absorbed by plasma. Where nu zero is equal C over A, and MEMP is the electron to proton mass ratio. You see all the calculations based on the same Q parameter and some standard fundamental physical units. Photons with energy smaller than this value cannot propagate in the intergalactic plasma. Thus, this value is the smallest amount of energy a photon may possess, which equals to the value 1.87 to the power 10 to the minus 14 electron volts. I calculated this value in 2013, where a basic energy unit equals to 70 mega electron volts. It's our standard fundamental constants. The value of this calculated parameter predicted by WUC in 2013 is in a good agreement with the value obtained by Bonetti in 2017. Compare 1.87, about 1.9, with less than 2.2, but the value is the same, 10 to the minus 14 electron volts. In a big bang model, it's massless. There is no energy at all in these particles. These particles don't exist. In my model, they exist. They have minimum rest energy, means they exist. Oh, one critical point for Big Bang model. This is their confirmation of Big Bang model. They're so stupid, they don't know classical physics at all. Let me show you why. According to Big Bang model, the photons that existed at the time of photon decoupling, 380,000 years after the Big Bang, it's their model I'm describing, have been propagating ever since, though growing fainter and less energetic since the expansion of space causes their wavelengths to increase over time. These photons are the same photons that we see in MBR now. But then, why is MBR a black body? What is the mechanism of photons wavelengths increasing over time and growing fainter and less energetic? No explanation. This is like Bible. Each photon must have a wavelength, and each photon have spreading this wavelength without any reason. First of all, there is no wavelength for each photon, forget about it, and they don't know what does it mean, even black body radiation. Classical physics.
Yeah.
According to WC, the concept of wavelengths is classical, not quantum. Wavelengths in this view is a property of an ensemble of quantum objects, such as photons or electrons, all of which possess four momenta, but no individual wavelengths. No individual wavelength. By definition.
Sorry, can't hear that part. Otherwise, I can give them to the squirrels.
Can I continue?
Jim, can you mute your mic?
Okay. Guys, pay attention to definition of black body radiation. By definition, black body radiation is the thermal electromagnetic radiation within or surrounding a body in thermodynamic equilibrium with its environment. It's a very important definition, known 100 years ago more, so on and so on. What does it mean? Wavelengths, each photon, it cannot even interact with each other. You cannot change wavelengths of each photon with any mechanism because there is no interaction. They are bosons. They don't interact with each other. They can interact only with body. Then can have this black body radiation only in thermal equilibrium. They can be absorbed by some matter, electrons as usually, and then to irradiated by electrons back. It should be some thermal equilibrium in my model between these photons and intergalactic plasma. Intergalactic plasma has this temperature for 2.7. You will see this number later. But what is important? This black body radiation, what we have right now, it depends on the temperature of this thermal intergalactic plasma temperature. There is a standard interaction between body intergalactic plasma and photons. It's a very critical point, and this is the main principle of confirmation of Big Bang model. By the way, let me remind you that they cannot explain even this axis of evil, because suddenly 380 years ago, this Big Bang model, this radiation Big Bang, this black body radiation, already knew about the existence of our galaxy, of our solar system, and axis of our and plane of our eclipses. Can you believe it? 380 thousand years ago, after the Big Bang model, you know already about axis of evil. It's so crazy. I don't know how to tell even about this, explanations. In WUC, the black body spectrum of MBR is due to thermodynamic equilibrium of photons with intergalactic plasma. It explains why MBR is a perfect black body radiation. Then you can see this is the low energy density of electrons. We know how much we have raw protons, it's 4.8%. Raw E, it's much less because this ratio. And rho P is then this equation is an energy density of protons in cosmic medium. We assume that energy density of MBR equals to twice the value of rho E due to two polarization of photons, and consider the standard Stefan-Boltzmann law. You can see this Boltzmann law, where Kb is the Boltzmann constant. The calculated value of TMBR based on this equation, standard classical equation, is 2.725 and so on Kelvin, which is in excellent agreement with the measured value 2725 plus minus by Fixon in 2009. This number was obtained experimentally before my model. But nobody in the world calculated this temperature. Nobody except my model. Only my model 4 years later calculated this value that is in a very good agreement with experimentally measured value before my model. You see, it's advantage of my model because only I could calculate these numbers, nobody else. Nevertheless, it's the main confirmation for Big Bang model. This value of this, microvolnov background radiation. For infrared background radiation, nobody was even talking about this cosmic far infrared background radiation, which was announced in 1998 is part of the cosmic infrared background radiation with wavelengths near 100 microns, which is the peak power wavelength of the black body radiation at temperature 29 K. We calculate the temperature of its peak according to this equation that equals 28,955 Kelvin. You see, that is in excellent agreement with experimentally measured value of 29K in 1998. They measured, there are very good experimental results, but nobody in the world calculated this number, only in my model. Mass varying neutrinos. Oh, it's very, very important, issue. Mass varying neutrinos. In Big Bang model, they have a zero masses because they're massless. This is only one way to take them in a Big Bang model. In my model, I calculated these values. I will not give you the details how I've done it. I will present only the numbers. It is established that there are three different types of neutrinic, electronic, muonic neutrinos, and tauonic, and their antiparticles. Neutrino oscillations imply that neutrinos have non-zero masses. It's accepted. It's not my idea. We analyzed this phenomenon and calculated the values of their masses, 45 milli-electron volts, 7.5 milli-electron volts, and the lightest electron, neutrino, 0.31 milli-electron volts C squared, which is in a good agreement with experimental results obtained in these papers. You see, I calculated and I confirmed that the experimental results in these articles, they are consistent with my calculations. That's very important point. So named dark matter, and due to Harry and his good questions to me, I changed even the name of them. Dark matter, it's not dark matter. You cannot see this matter. Yes, correct. But you can see in different wavelengths. That's why it is named right now universe created particles, because there is a mechanism how they created, who created it. In our previous articles, we followed the standard paradigm dark matter that is not quite right for WUC, in which observable world consists of particles of ordinary matter, protons, electrons, photons, and neutrinos. On the other hand, there are particles created by the universe. You see particles of a new kind of universe create matter. In 2024, the last year, we introduced a new term, UC particles, which have the following characteristics. You see fermions or bosons, rest energies, see tables 1, weak interaction between them, and self-annihilation, like Majorana fermions. Ordinary particles are a byproduct of UC particles self-annihilation. It is easy to switch from dark G matter to universe created UC matter. Universe created particles. I showed this table many times. You know, there are 4 different types of fermions with, by the way, with rest energy that depends on alpha parameter only, because E0 is a standard, you know, basic unit of energy, and you have alpha minus 2, alpha minus 1, alpha squared, alpha 4, and then here alpha 0, alpha 1, alpha 6. You see, all these parameters created by universe, they must be standard, they must be constant. You cannot allow universe to create something time varying. Time, it's our parameter, I mean our observable world. There is no dark matter, there is no UC matter, there is nothing, no space. I will talk about this later. No space, no time, nothing. These particles are dark, optically invisible, when astronomers observe observable world with telescopes only. The contemporary astronomy allows us to observe observable world on wavelengths from radio waves up to gamma rays. Then they are not dark at all. The first known binary star system was Sinus X1 in 1971, that it was observed. That is typically the brightest persistent source of hot X-rays with energies up to 60 kiloelectron volts. Let me remind you, it passed only 188 years before the John Mitchell, he predicted such binary system. And at last, in 1971, we opened it. In 2000, Minchin et al. Discovered binary galaxy system Virgo HI21 with NGC 4254 galaxy, which has a 21 centimeter emission. There is no optical emission, but there is a radio emission 21 centimeters. These 2 kinds of matter have different origins of radiation. Ordinary particles radiate electromagnetic waves from radio waves up to X-rays by electrons outside nuclei. UC particles radiate gamma rays, which are emitted by nuclei as a result of self-annihilation of UC particles with rest energies covering 18 orders of magnitude. If you will take a look on this table, you will see from tera-electron volt to microelectron volts, 18 orders of magnitude. She proposes multi-component UC matter system consisting of 2 couples and so on and so on. All these particles they presented in this table, I will not I will tell a few words about it. I need to do it. Of two couples of co-annihilating UC particles. A heavy fermion UCF1, 1.3 tera-electron volt, and light spin 0 boson Dirac, 70 mega-electron volts. That is the dipole of Dirac's monopoles, which charge mu equals E over 2 alpha. E is an elementary charge. It's a very important issue. I will, in a summary report, I will talk in details about this Dirac's monopole. I replace this Dirac's monopole on Dirac's dipoles. That's why I named even this particle, boson, Dirac. It consists, it can be presented as a dipoles of Dirac monopoles. It's a very important issue. We will talk about this issue in 2 weeks. And light spin 0 boson, a heavy fermion UCF2, 9.6 giga-electron volts, and a light spin 0 boson, LO, 340 kilo-electron volts. That is a dipole of preons. It's not invented by myself. There are some theoretical guys invented preons with electrical charge E over 3. It is a very important dipole because dipole might be invisible, but what is important, how to create all the quarks and all the stuff inside of the nucleus without this electrical charge E over 3. It helps to talk about elementary particles, to talk about the quarks and all this stuff. That's why this our Dirac, it's a Dirac monopoles, combined Dirac's dipole, and this L op is a particle that can provide the existence of our elementary particle physics. Fermions UCF3, 3.7 kilo-electron volt, and UCF 4.2 electron volt, boson Xion with 5.3 microelectron volt. This boson responsible for gravitation. We will talk about this later, not so far away. The reason for this multi-component UC matter system was to explain the diversity of very high energy gamma ray sources in observable world. There is no explanation right now. There are a lot of experimental results. We have gamma rays from tera-electron volts to whatever. And there is no explanation who is responsible for it. And the second one, the diversity of UC matter cause of macro objects of observable world, superclusters, galaxies, and extrasolar system, which are fermion compact objects and UC matter reactors in WUC. It's very important because for superclusters, you need one of them. I will show you later. For galaxies, another one. For extrasolar system, another one. Because heavier particles, smaller the radius of the core, less structure. For superclusters, you need very light particles with a high radius of this spherical core of supercluster. And for extrasolar systems, vice versa, you need heavier particles with less radius of the core. Content of observable world. Observable world consists of cosmic medium and macro objects. Total energy density of observable world equals to the critical energy density throughout the world's evolution. All the time, the same critical energy density. It's very important for, especially for Big Bang model. They can tell, oh, if you have your critical energy density, it's a flat universe. Good, it's flat for them. The energy density of cosmic medium is 2/3 of the total energy density. And macro objects, superclusters, galaxies, extrasolar system, etc., 1/3 in all cosmological times. The relative energy density of UC particles is about 92.8%. And ordinary particles, protons, electrons, photons, and neutrinos, about 4.8% in cosmic medium and 2.4% in macro objects. It's a very important statement right now. Big Bang model developed based on 2.4% of overall matter in our world. How we can do it based on 2.4% and gas 92.8% of dark matter, or in my case, it's UC matter. How? It's a crazy theory. Physics, it's something must be big, and you can neglect with something small. On the contrary, Big Bang model based on a very small amount of our matter, 2.4% in Marker object, and trying to guess to build the theory based on what? I don't know, maybe you know. One of the principal ideas of WC holds that relative energy densities of the world's particles in terms of the critical energy density are constants in all times and proportional to the proton energy density in the world's cosmic medium that in present epoch equals to 4.8%, you can see in here, and 2.39 mega electron volt per cubic meters. You see, the basic unit I took, it's a energy density of protons. By the way, calculated based on fast radio burst. It is not from the sky number. It's in accordance with experimental results obtained by fast radio burst. WC holds that the energy density of all types of self-annihilating QC particles is proportional to this value, basic value. In all, there are 6 distinct types of self-annihilating UC particle. UCF1, 2, Dirac, Elop, UCF3, and UCF4. Then the total energy density of UC particles equals to 28.8%. Sorry? Okay. That is in a good agreement with the results in 19. By the way, it is exactly the article you asked the reference, Jim. You can take a look on number 19. The total Xion energy density is energy density of Xions. It's the lightest particle. It's about 64%. It's so named dark energy. It's not dark energy. It's a real Xions particles with energy density overall 64%. The total baryonic energy density equals this number, the sum, so on and so on. I put in detail that everybody will understand how I've got these numbers. We take energy density of neutrinos equal to rho MBR. It's a well-known experimental result. For far infrared macro radiation, it's much less than our NBR. I took this number. But what is important? As a result, I calculated the energy density of the world and equals to rho critical. Based on this equation and value of MEMP, I calculated the inverse value of so-named fine structure constant. In my case, it's alpha, one of the most important parameters of universe. It's universe parameter. It's equals to 137.03600, which is in excellent agreement with the commonly adopted value. Compare this calculated value by my theory and the calculated by standard, astronomical observations. It follows that there is a direct correlation between constants alpha and MEMP expressed by the obtained equation. As shown, MEMP is not an independent constant, but is instead derived from alpha. You see, the value of this equation to show that even this well-known ratio, mass of electron to mass of protons, can be calculated based on the value alpha calculated on a Rydberg constant, all of them experimentally measured value. That's why it is very important that we have alpha and we can explain not only all other parameters, but even this ratio we can calculate based on this equation. As a conclusion, the world's energy density is inversely proportional to a dimensionless time-varying quantity Q in all cosmological times. The particles' relative energy density are proportional to constant alpha. You see, universe, it creates our universe created particles with constant rest energy. But what is important, even ratio between them, the same. It's the same combination, the same ensemble of particles the universe creates in our world. There are no changes, not only in the value of each particle, I mean rest energy, but even in ensemble, the same ensembles going from the fourth spatial dimension to our surface hypersphere world. It's a very important conclusion. We have two parameters, Q, its value for our time varying parameters, and we have alpha that belongs to the universe only. It's better to name Q as a world parameter and alpha as universe constant. Universe, it's eternal, it's constant. It must be only constant parameters. And according to my model, all these particles and the combination of these particles, they are constant. Oh my goodness. How much time left? Can we start new section or we will have some relaxed time? Harry, what do you think?
3 minutes.
Okay, let's maybe answer this question if you have, guys, what I read about, what I tried to explain you, maybe very emotional. I am trying to reach you guys. I want to put in your mind, in your brains, this value of all the parameters. My model is experimental model. It's not from the sky. I tried always to follow experiments. I try to follow results observed. I agree that we achieved with astronomy, we achieved so great results. They need some explanation. And in the frames of my model, I'm trying to explain what is observable, what is exists experimentally, not from equations. I use standard equations of classical physics, no gravitational general relativity, no special relativity. There is nothing. There is only classical physics, but with a very important variation, change, time varying parameters only predicted and introduced by Dirac 87 close to 88 years ago. Can you believe it? He was great guy. He saw even the future of classical physics in cosmology. He was absolutely right. It's exactly the value of my model. I based on his estimation, evaluation, his large number, and then based on this idea, I built a new classical physics. New. And U is only time varying parameters. That's it. You can use the same equation, well known, but we cannot see changes in these equations, I mean in these parameters, because this time, cosmological time, it's about 14.226 billion years. It's so huge that the variations during 100, 200 years, it's negligible. That's why we cannot measure these variations. But based on this, model, based on the interaction in interchangeable parameters, they depend on each other, interconnectivity of these parameters, we can calculate all of them, including radius of this our hypersphere. We can measure even age of the world based on experimentally measured gravitational parameter only. That's why it's
10
one of the
seconds.
advantages of, I'm sorry?
You got about 20 seconds.
Okay, let's continue. I hope we will finish because we're already close to the finish of this the paper. You know what? Because I want to go with summary and then in 2 weeks without all these detailed calculations. By the way, in summary, there is no this calculation. It was my previous paper, and I wanted to show that the
Okay, we're back for the final part of Vladimir's presentation. Vladimir seems to be gone.
Just the four of us at the moment.
Okay, that was a lot of detail. Let's see if we can get finished through this thing. Okay, we're recording and
okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Very good.
I guess you're ready to go.
Okay, good. Then I will proceed. Hope we will finish today. Thank you so much for your patience and taking my emotions because I'm so excited about Big Bang model. So crazy, so unbelievable, so mathematical, without any experimental confirmations. Nevertheless, they stand as stone, as concrete wall. They cannot allow anybody to go through them.
You might say gospel.
Gosh,
Okay.
that's an insult to religion.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Harry.
Well,
I'm so happy that you
science,
started May the last year to ask me good questions, man. And
the way
even
the
I'm
way
sorry.
science is formulated right now, it's a religion on itself.
Mathematical religion, physics, it's a experimental physics by definition. And
It's a
now the
theoretical, it's a
belongs to
theoretical
mathematicians only.
religion. It's a
It's
theoretical
a
religion, Vladimir.
theoretical
It's
religion.
all
That's
based
it.
on it's all based on theories that have not been proven.
Yes, but you see, even microwave background radiation, uh, it belongs to them, like a confirmation.
The
The
CMB,
existence of MBR means Big Bang model exists.
the
I
CMB,
calculated temperature of it, but
what if
nobody done it before. Who cares?
what if the CMB is a local phenomena instead of a cosmic phenomena?
Okay, it's a good question. I can go with it, but maybe go later because I
No,
want to
I'm just,
teach you guys today.
I'm saying that it is a local phenomena, not what if. It is
Yes,
a local
because as I
phenomena.
told you,
It's not
axis
cosmic.
of axis of evil depends on a local, on our sun, and our solar system, ecliptic of it, and so on and so on. Because there is some cylindrical distribution of solar wind, this cylindrical symmetrical plasma, and interaction, of course, of these photons of microwave background radiation with this plasma gives us some details of this axis of evil. They don't understand it because microwave background radiation, thermoequilibrium with galaxy intergalactic plasma. What is important? The density of intergalactic plasma going down, the temperature of intergalactic plasma going down. Accordingly, our photons, what we have right now, they're local. They belong to the galaxy, maybe. And that's it. That's it. You cannot tell that it started 380,000 years after the Big Bang, and still they exist. They
Well,
pass through with our
we
cosmic
can,
medium without any interaction. Can you believe it?
Vladimir,
Because
wait a second. We can pick out the Milky Way in the CMB. It's been mapped out in the CMB. They know where the Milky Way exists in that picture. What I'm saying is if if they're reading the energy from the Birkeland current that's pinching our galaxy,
it's far away
then
from my model.
then
Please,
it's a
please
local
stop your model
phenomena.
right now.
It's a
I
local
want to finish
phenomena.
today. Stop it, please. It's a totally different story. I don't have these currents. If you want to present your model, please, you are very welcome.
I'm not talking about a model. I'm just talking about it being a local phenomena.
All right.
Okay, let's
Let's
continue.
move on.
Very
I have a
important.
problem. Hold on. I have a problem with this this title. There is no cosmic medium. There is nothing. I think this is a rhetorical. I think it's kind of misleading here. What you're saying is, without a cosmic medium, there is nothing. Is that not
There is
correct?
no
I think
space.
it's kind of misleading.
There is
What you're
no
saying here.
observable world. I will tell you. Of course, it's some kind of, emotional title
But
of this section.
you're not asserting there is no cosmic medium. That's what it looks like to me. The way I
Are you
read it,
saying if there is no cosmic medium, there is nothing? Is
that's
that what
my
you're saying?
that's my point. I'm saying this is kind of misleading.
Right.
Yes, I agree with you. Maybe it's a wrong title, but let's follow my text, and you will
Right.
take why I took this title.
All
I
right, we
don't
need
know.
to move quickly here.
Okay, please don't stop me with some other models. Let's finish. Not so many pages left, but I want to finish today, guys. We have already the second huge session, 2 hours, and I'm so happy with your interest to my model. Let's continue and let's finish, because in 2 weeks I will start with Ian with a new summary. What you like, Harry, but please have your patience. In 1937, Nikola Tesla declared, all attempts to explain the working of the universe without recognizing the existence of the ether and the indispensable function it plays in the phenomena are futile and destined to oblivion. This concept of the cosmic medium plays a fundamental role in WC. You see, Nikola Tesla cried about this ether. Cosmic medium is some kind of ether. We will continue. WC, being a classical model, introduces classical notions only from the moment the first ensemble of particles emerged at a cosmological time more than about 10 to the minus 18 seconds, which defined by the value of Q about 20,000. You see, only when you have the very first ensemble of particles, at least, only then you can introduce this classical notion, ether, cosmic medium, whatever. Very important point, statement. You have no tau zero. You then don't have tau minus 43 power. You have no 0.35. You cannot talk about time zero. No way. When you have your cosmic medium with Q up to 20,000, you have the very first ensemble of particles. Only then, at this time, you can start talking about classical physics and about all the equations we have in our life. It's exactly what I meant when I told about there is no cosmic medium, there is nothing. Because there is no space, there is no time, there is nothing. Time, space, and gravitation are intrinsically linked to the impedance characterized by the Hubble parameters. You see, Hubble parameters equal to cosmological time minus 1, inverse proportional to tau. The gravity-magnetic parameter and the energy density of cosmic medium, respectively. Consequently, time, space, and gravitation cannot be discussed independently of cosmic medium. This is exactly the title of this section. You can start talking about time, space, and gravitation when you have your cosmic medium. If you don't have cosmic medium, you cannot even talk about them. You cannot introduce them at all. Gravity under WC is not an interaction, but rather a manifestation of cosmic medium. This perspective aligns with the Lissajous theory of gravitation, which in WC is based on UC particles referred to as xions. I told you about these particles before. Notably, the energy density of cosmic medium constitutes 2/3 of the total energy density of observable world. Unique properties of ether were discussed by McCulloch in 1847, 180 years ago, who proposed a theory of rotationally elastic medium. The potential energy of deformation in such a medium depends only on the rotation of the volume elements and not on their compression or general distortion. It's a very important issue. This theory produces equations analogous to Maxwell equations. Ether with these properties can transmit transverse waves. WC is based on Maxwell equation, and McCulloch's theory is a good fit for description of cosmic medium. It's a very critical point because ether, standard ether, can transmit only so named, not transverse, but I forgot this word. Standard, waves. Harry, tell me which one. What the word I forgot. No, it doesn't matter. What is important? Ether, up to now, they cannot explain the transmission of transverse waves inside of ether. It's a cosmic medium with this Mach-Khalek theory. Mach's principle. A very general statement of Mach's principle is local physical laws are determined by the large-scale structure of the universe. Can you believe it? Mach's principle, hundreds of years ago, give us this statement. Local physical laws depend by large-scale structure of universe. Nobody explained anything about this large-scale structure. In my model, in WUC, local physics is linked with the large-scale structure of observable world through the dimensionless quantity cube. The proposed approach to the fourth spatial dimension agrees with Mach's principle. Applied to WC, it follows that all parameters of the world depending on Q are a manifestation of the world's curvature in the fourth spatial dimension. You say it's a very important statement of Mach, but it's confirmed in my model. All physical laws in observable world are determined by cosmic medium. That is both homogeneous and isotropic. We can use well-known equations considering time-varying physical parameters depending. By the way, there is some issue in here. It doesn't matter. Depending on Q, indeed, cosmic medium emerges as the cornerstone of classical physics, a savior of its principles. Let us not discard this profound concept with the tide of modernity. We must now throw the baby out with the bathwater. We have 2/3 of energy density inside of the medium. And in the Big Bang model, we throw away immediately 67% of your energy density. It doesn't exist. There is only vacuum. That's it, simple like this. It's a great pity for me that, general relativity stopped development of classical physics for 100 years plus. Now, the most important, the final section, physical meaning of the fourth spatial coordinate. It's a very important. It's not only mathematics. No, it is some meaning. And you will see it's a very interesting meaning. According to Ovid Duin and Wesson, a fifth dimension might be associated with rest mass via x4 equals to this equation. I'm following them. In WC, there are the following parameters. There is a gravitational parameter. I showed you the value of this gravitational parameter earlier. And so named energy density, surface energy density, sigma 0. Remember, I talked about it. I calculated critical energy density based on this value, sigma 0. I'm sorry? Okay, let me continue. That in our parameters, in our constant, equals to H Planck constant C over A cube. It's a standard definition for any surface energy density. But I rewrote these equations the following way. H over A squared divide on T0. What does it mean T0? T0 is A over C. T0. Remember, I told you 10 to the minus 23 seconds. But if you will take a look on this equation, you can see that it's an angular momentum flux density GH. You have your angular momentum H as a unit of it, divided on squared area and time. It's energy density. No, it's an angular momentum flux density EH. You see, GH. I showed that sigma 0 introduced before in all my previous articles. It really is angular momentum flux density. Then the total energy density of the observable world, I gave you previously this equation, this energy of observable world equals 4 pi r squared sigma 0. That equals to 4 pi r squared, its area, multiplied on the flux, energy flux density. It's equal total angular momentum flux. It's a standard standard equation. If you multiply energy density, you have the whole flux of energy. In here, you have your angular momentum energy flux density. You have the total flux density of this angular momentum. Is a total angular momentum flux that is a vector, because flux is always vector, along the four spatial dimension, which is associated with the overall energy of observable world. And I showed this equation in details. Look, I took this parameter, multiplied this, then I put the real values I put before. It's equals to R, whereas R is the size of our fourth dimension. That equals A over Q and equals C over tau. You see, the fourth spatial dimension introduced by Overdoing and Wesson equals to R introduced in our model that equals to IQ. And what is important, it's equals to C tau. It's a very important statement. The fourth spatial dimension that equals to radius of curvature introduced in the model. But what is important, this radius equals to gravitodynamic constant C multiplied on cosmological time. The fourth spatial dimension proportional to cosmological time. Not as it is in a big one model. It's IC tau. IC10 to be exactly. It is not the fourth dimension. It's a four-manifold Big Bang model. They introduce space dimension, space-time, four-dimensional. No, four-dimensional my model, because it's a fourth spatial dimension. And C tau in this model, not I, because this, I unit for the surface. I don't understand it. It's mathematics. It's not physics at all. In this case, fourth spatial dimension that equals to R is a radius of nuclear of our world, and we are surface of this nuclear, and it's equals to C tau, the tau real time, cosmological time, and C is a real gravitodynamic constant. This is a very important, critical point, the difference between fourth spatial dimension theory, like we have, and four-manifold Big Bang model that is a mathematics. It's not physics at all. Complex unit. Space or time as a complex unit. Can you believe it? Time is time. It's real cosmological time. It's not complex unit. Sorry, one more about my emotions, but I'm so excited about Big Bang model and how crazy it is, how bad it is. And nevertheless, no one of these famous orthodoxies answered my letters. I sent to all of
Let's
them.
move on
Me.
to the conclusions.
The eternal universe continuously creates ensembles of massive UC particles with ensembles angular momentum. You see, our universe, it creates not only matter. No, they even introduce, they put inside of our world angular momentum. Very important issue. Where we took it? We took it from the universe. We took not only matter, but matter with total angular momentum. As a conclusion.
Let's move on to the conclusions.
Yes. The gravitational parameter function is as a dimension transposing factor. The fourth spatial coordinate corresponds to the cosmological time tau, defined as tau t0 multiplied on q. Conclusions. Fourth spatial dimension world universe cosmology presents a fresh approach to understanding the observable world and the science of cosmology. It builds on the foundations of classical physics and has the potential to challenge core assumptions in both cosmology and classical physics. Rather than claiming to explain all existing cosmological data or presenting a fully developed theory, WC serves as a starting point for a new cosmology envisioned by Paul Dirac in 1937. While further refinement by the global physics community is essential, World Universe Cosmology's insights, combined with the groundbreaking discoveries of the GWST and the legacy of Dirac's ideas over 87 years, underscore the need for a paradigm shift in astronomy, cosmology, and classical physics. For spatial dimension, World Universe Cosmology invites recognition. It's a very important conclusion. I never thought that everything already done, there is nothing to do, and so on and so on. No, for one guy to develop all the theory 100 years old, it's impossible. I'm not claiming it. On the contrary, I put only start-up points for all the community, and I'm inviting people, guys, leave your big band model. Start thinking about your own theories, results, experimental results, observation through the prism of my model. And it will be much easier for you to explain what you observed, what you can calculate, what is the correspondence between my calculations and your observations, your experimental results, and so on and so on. That's why my main point of the conclusion always the same. World spatial dimension, world universe cosmology invites recognition. Please start point. All of you guys, I invite you. Please do yourself. If you like some part of this, model, take it as it is and try to explain your results based on this approach, on this base model. It's a base only model. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for taking my emotions. I overloaded by my emotions against Big Bang model for 24 years, guys. 12 years I am publishing my papers, 40 papers published, so many papers outside in academia, in Vixra, and all this stuff, ResearchGate. But there is no success. I mean, nobody from the famous, well-known cosmologists can accept this approach. Thank you so much. I'm done.
All right, very good. I'm kind of surprised in that your summary, you talked about James Jeans, and you don't mention him, and you didn't mention him before. And you talk about the steady state cosmology that was.
This is in summary. In summary, there is no genes in here. Sorry.
I know, and that's kind of.
I will answer your question. I will answer, but I want to tell to other guys.
Maybe they missed it. Hold on. My point is that I'm trying to get to is that you didn't really just make up a bunch of stuff. What you did is you tried to bring in ideas from other people who have already, famous scientists who had ideas, and you've brought them into your cosmology, whereas the modern people basically threw all that stuff out and invented everything from scratch, ignoring everything that happened before about 1940, except for Einstein's theory. So, but you don't. But this needs to be clearer, because the overdoing model is related to the Dirac idea, which is that the physical laws changing with time, the gravitational constant change with time. That's Dirac's kind of idea based on the large numbers hypothesis. And so there's a foundation for what you're talking about, right?
Sure. It's exactly my point. For myself, I revealed so many genius people from Lisage, from, John Mitchell, and all of them. And you know what? All of them forgotten by stupid mathematicians. Well, they develop Big Bang model and they don't know any physics. They don't know history of physics. They don't know all these McCullochs and all of them, It was very important for me to reveal all of them, to take their ideas. But my advantage is I combined all these existing and forgotten ideas in one model. I'm like a conductor. I have different instruments in my orchestra. And I try to be a conductor to put all of them in one picture, in one composition. This is my advantage. Even my feelings. I don't really invent anything else. Something I invented, but not as much as all these genius people during classical physics history. And I want to recover them. I want to put them in my orchestra and show, guys, you see, this idea belongs to this idea. And I have always, in summary too, this, history of physics. And the main idea I took from the history and put inside of my model. In 2 weeks, I will put all these ideas in details. Please have your patience. In 2 weeks, I will talk about this, In many of my articles, I put many ideas, not only what I put in summary. It's the main ideas, including this steady state, model. But steady state model, Harry, you have the same energy density. In universe, by the way, they have universe too. There's somebody creating this matter to have stable view of our world. In my model, there is no steady state. There is inversely proportional to tau, to cosmological time. You see the difference? They wanted to have stable picture all the time. All the time. I told, no, guys, there is a dependence on time, inversely proportional parameters, gravitational, Hubble, and some other parameters. We will talk in 2 weeks about it. But what is important, I wanted to show, guys, there was some ideas, by the way, about the fourth dimension. It doesn't belong to me. You will see in summary that there are some people, they already named these particles coming from the fourth dimension, from other dimensions. And when I started to write my last paper, I tried to find all the details, all the missed points from the history of physics. I collected all of them at once in a summary. It's only 12 pages, I tried to do my best. And by the way, as I told you, 422 people during 1 week, they saw my paper. I'm so happy about it. But there is no famous guys. There are no orthodoxes. They don't want to see it. And I have all their email address. I sent to all of them without any response. Never.
Okay.
For 12 years, I'm publishing my papers.
All right. We got, I guess about 15 minutes. Okay, so
let's talk about something else.
Let's have some people to comment if anybody wants to comment or ask questions.
Yes.
Before we run out of time here. And after saying that, nobody wants to ask questions or make comments.
Okay, please, you are very welcome right now because I wanted to finish. I finished now. I am ready to answer all your questions, not only about this, article, but maybe some other questions.
All right,
I can answer.
let's see if anybody is brave enough to ask a question or make a comment. We've had plenty of comments already.
Well, as far as the cosmic medium goes, I'm unsure. I'm unsure why you don't call it the ether. Also, you said that it's composed of protons, electrons, photons, and such. But these are particles, with the exception of photons, which I think are just units of a light wave. But protons and electrons compose atoms. I mean, why don't they blend in with the rest of the universe? How could they possibly propagate those same particles as objects and such?
Okay, I named this cosmic medium because I don't know what do you mean ether. When you put this notion ether, let me ask you the question. What are the properties of your ether?
I'm highly skeptical of ether, I have to say.
Okay, that's why, I introduced cosmic medium because I saturated this cosmic medium with the real particles. That's it, simple like this. That's why I put a new name, new title of this ether. You can name it ether, but ether as a fluid, there is no meaning of it. I will tell you why. Because in our world, we have no medium fluid. Forget it, ether. Why? Because we have only one proton per 4 cubic meters. What kind of fluid you talking about? It's a rarefied air. The energy density of our cosmic medium, 20 orders of magnitude less than the energy density of air around us. And we're talking about fluid, about ether. What we talking about?
Well, I
I'm,
think
I'm, I'm,
I don't think they're talking about fluid per se. I think they're talking about the behavior of a gas following the dynamics of the laws of fluid motion dynamics. I think that's what they're talking about.
no fluid dynamics. Forget it. There is no fluid. There is no fluid dynamics. Forget about it.
Gas
And
behaves
only
like a
important
fluid.
Mark
That's what they're
Kalak
saying.
was absolutely right. There is no standard medium like we have gas, liquid, solid state, and so on and so on. There is a cosmic medium with particles only. And
Well,
behavior of this medium totally different. There is rotational potential energy, rotational. You can only rotate these volumes of this gas. Maybe we can name it the gas. That's it. That's
well,
it.
how,
There
how to
is
know
no
for,
ether.
how to know for sure what composes the cosmic medium, though?
I would call it a plasma, not a gas.
Well, I guess you're all right. So we got the white
Continue.
rod ether issue out of the way. Is there any other comments?
Well, just one ancillary comment following from that. The classical view, probably, of the ether was that it was an all-pervasive medium in the whole universe, and it was, that which permitted it to be used as a medium of reference for motion. But I think developments, and certainly, some of my ideas and others, would be that there is a sort of a medium which one can call an ether, but it's not homogeneous throughout the whole universe. In other words, it's gravitationally bound, say, to objects like the Earth, and the Earth is actually carrying its local ether. And then, the sun would have another ether outside that frame of reference. It's not a universal frame of reference. So I suppose in your case, is the medium a universal frame of reference, or is it, the way we're thinking now, variable all over the whole universe?
First of all, let me tell you, you're right, and I will tell you what I mean. And what I mean, you're right. I told intergalactic plasma, homogeneous, isotropic, and so on and so on. Intergalactic, between galaxies and all this stuff. That's why don't put to Earth, to our galaxy, this definition, this standard definition. Intergalactic plasma exists between galaxies, between, not inside. So it's the first point. The second very important point. We have not only cores of all these macro objects, stars, planets, moons, galaxies made of universe created particles. All of them, they have some halo around based on UC particles. Let me tell you, we have our sun, and we have some solar halo. We can see this, halo in X-rays when we have our blocked sun with moon. What is the radiation? X-ray radiation, Röntgen radiation from this halo around sun. It's self-annihilation of UC particles as a shell around the sun. The same story there is even around planets, around moons. It's well experimentally observed. That's why if you want to talk about some inhomogeneity, not of cosmic medium, of the surrounding of our Earth, of our Sun.
Hello?
Okay, Vladimir is frozen. Bummer. All
That's
right, is
very
everybody, I guess he's frozen. I at first thought it was my computer, but everybody else seems to be okay. All
Give him
right,
a second to realize it and maybe reboot and see what
he's
happens.
probably going to have to, that'll take him. We don't really have that much time left. We only got 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, he's done.
Um, okay, any other comments? I think
Yeah,
this,
I'd like to throw out or to propose or whatever, suggest that if there is a cosmic medium or ether that is responsible for propagating electromagnetic waves, if it's a real medium, it has to have mass, right? Think about that for a
Well-
second.
It's not has mass.
oh, here
No,
he is
And-
back now.
Guys,
Well,
mass.
let me just finish. That if that's true and it propagates electromagnetic waves, it would be invisible because it's just propagating the waves. It's not producing them. So what are the arguments that that's not dark matter?
Intergalactic plasma, I told you already about. Guys, it's measured by fast radio bursts. That's why it is protons and electrons, really one. That's why intergalactic plasma really confirmed experimentally. That's why there is no doubts about it. That's why cosmic medium, it consists of protons, electrons, and of course photons. But
And
what
does
is
it do?
important?
What does it
Huh?
do? Does the cosmic medium propagate electromagnetic energy?
Of course, I told you that cosmic medium, it cannot propagate any photons with energy less than 10 to the minus 14 electron volts. There is
So
a
they're only
minimum.
photons. They're only photons. There's no electromagnetic waves in your model.
Okay, let me tell you one more time about the same story. Classical physics talking about ensembles of photons. Ensembles of photons, they have wavelengths. Each photon, it has some parameters. You can talk with somebody from elementary particles physics. But as for me, there are only wavelengths. We are measuring only wavelengths. We are measuring only the parameters of ensembles of photons.
Well, what is
What is
waving?
important?
What is
Let me
waving?
continue.
What is
Let
waving?
me wavelengths.
How can it be?
Let me continue. Well, can I finish? Please have your patience. There is so named
we got
double.
less than a minute, so we need to.
Okay, we have so named double slit experiment. Please check it and you will see. When you're looking for photons, elementary particles, you don't have interference pattern. When you don't touch this ensemble, you can see interference. This is exactly my point. Classical physics is ensemble of particles. We can watch wavelengths only. As for the photons, we cannot tell anything without special detectors, but when we'll start to look for photons, immediately we will lose wavelengths. Wavelengths is a notion of classical physics.
All right. Any other comments? We got probably 10 seconds here. Thank you, Vladimir, for your presentation. I appreciate
For your patience and for
taking
my
the
emotions,
effort and
excuse me.
time to try to straighten us out.
Okay.